It took until about mid-November Chiefs Kingdom for the NFL to put forth a team that could finally figure it out for the Kansas City Chiefs and defeat them, but they finally do. It was the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo at Orchard Park on Sunday afternoon, finally taking down the 9-0 Chiefs. Kansas City falls to 9-1. Buffalo moves to 9-2, so the Chiefs still have that half-game lead for the number one seed at the moment in the AFC. The Steelers defeating the Ravens on just field goals. That was a wild game. Plenty of Week 11 football to talk about ahead, as well as in the realm of fighting. It was a big weekend. Jake Paul, of course, against Mike Tyson. He ended up winning that contest. There was a couple other good boxing matches on that card as well. The Serrano-Katie Taylor fight, that one was a really good one as well. We'll get into all that in UFC 309. Of course, from Madison Square Garden, Jon Jones defeats Stipe Miocic and retains his heavyweight title in New York, as well as Michael Chandler finally returning and losing to Charles Oliveira by decision. I think going into that one I had Michael Chandler winning by decision. He loses by decision on that UFC 309 card over the weekend. All of that and plenty more to get into in this episode of the Papa Schro Knows podcast. Welcome back. If you are returning, if you're new, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the like button as well for me if you enjoy the content. We are on the road to 300 subscribers still, as well as hit that bell to stay notified when I post or go live here on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you click the follow button, and I think they do star ratings over there. Give me a 5-star rating if you enjoy the content. So without further ado, let's get into Week 11 of the NFL. All right, so the Chiefs, of course, in Buffalo for Week 11 on Sunday afternoon. Patrick Mahomes ended up going 23 of 33, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 2 picks, the one at the end of the game. I mean, that was just a solid play by the Buffalo defender there, going over to catch that, I thought. I mean, it was what it was. It kind of felt like one of those games that the Chiefs just couldn't figure out how to overcome, what, I don't know, the challenge there. Josh Allen with an amazing run at the end of the game, really to put the game on ice, to score that final touchdown that I think it was 20-plus yard rush, 27 yards, somewhere around in there. The only thing I can say that was good about this game really was my fantasy team. So I have Josh Allen and James Cook. James Cook had a good game, 9 carries for 20 yards, 2 touchdowns. So call it what you will. The 2 touchdowns makes up for just rushing for 20 yards, only 2.2 yards per carry, which I think is solid because I do think that James Cook does give the Chiefs a little bit of problems. And he did catch 5 passes, but for only 7 yards there. So I think the Chiefs did do a good job containing James Cook for the most part. Obviously, the 2 touchdowns. From a standpoint, non-fantasy related, when we're just talking about football, I think that that's solid. Where they held him to, obviously, you got to figure out how to clean up on giving up those touchdowns. And the run to Josh Allen, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to defend that guy. I mean, just like Lamar Jackson, I mean, great in the run game, does an amazing job. Josh Allen did throw a pick. I don't see any fumbles here. I was about to say, I don't remember Josh Allen fumbling the ball, but he did throw the 1 pick. During the live broadcast, I haven't went back and rewatched it yet, but I was kind of in and out of it just for what was going on with my weekend. Kareem Hunt, 14 carries, 60 yards. Solid performance from Kareem Hunt, and he continues to just be the bell cow for the Kansas City Chiefs. And back to what me and EDJ talked about last week a little bit, about Xavier Worthy, because I thought it really shined true in this game as well as, just the body placement and not really knowing or not being able to control, his body to the level he should be able to. I mean, he should have been able to drag that foot. He was right there. Now, on the other side, I do think that it was a bad ball by Patrick Mahomes. I think the placement was bad. And I saw Chris Clark of the Locked On Chiefs podcast talk about this on Twitter. He tweeted about it, or X, whatever you want to call it. But just saying that it was a bad ball by Mahomes. And I did kind of agree with him. Now, Worthy should have caught the ball, but it was a bad placement as, he was wide open. So my take was about this situation was, and I tweeted this as well, just give Worthy some time. And I'm sure people have their pitchforks out for Xavier Worthy. I've already seen some people compare him to Sky Moore. And, some of these young guys, it's hard to. The league is in such a win now mode, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. Because I thought about this in the Bears and Packers game when I was watching Red Zone through the afternoon. But while they were close, and looking at the records, I mean, Chicago was 4-5 going into that game, and the Packers were 5-4. The Bears almost pulled that off, and the exact same thing, with the Chiefs game last week with the blocked kick at the last second. Same thing happened in that game where the Packers blocked a field goal that should have put the Bears on top, and the Bears should have won that game. But the amount of comparisons from Caleb Williams to Bryce Young, and numbers are the numbers, right? So, I mean, I think there's somewhat validity to that, but how quick we're ready to call guys bust, or, even with coaching sometimes where coaches get let go so quick, or, just there's such a, win now mentality that there's no time for growth. And that's one thing that I feel like everybody in the league lacks, but for me, I just see it on a different level because Sky Moore, I feel like, and not to say that this is the correct way to look at it, because I feel like Sky Moore is a guy that going into last season, I thought was going to have a huge uptick in value in the offense. He was going to be used more, and he was to a point, but he also had a lot of mishaps, a lot of drops. We've seen it this year. He dropped the one. I don't think he has a single catch this year, with a couple of drops. So it's tough, but you do have to let guys grow as players. And I think Xavier Worthy, it's there. We're seeing some of this be able to be schemed open, and Worthy is there and just not able to make a play. The Bucs game, catches the ball out of bounds. The Broncos game, there was a similar play. The game yesterday against the Bills, obviously, the huge play would have been a huge play. And like Chris Clark said, though, it should have been a touchdown easy. Nobody should have touched Xavier Worthy, and where the ball was for him to catch it and then go out of bounds, then you're looking at a touchdown versus a big gain. I don't know what it was, 20, 30 yards, something like that down the field. But nonetheless, Xavier Worthy, that was the one target that he did not catch. Had 5 targets, 4 catches, 61 yards. Noah Gray, one of the biggest games of his Chiefs career, 5 targets, 4 catches, 23 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. DeAndre Hopkins, 4 targets, 3 catches, 29 yards. Justin Watson brought in both of his targets for 26 yards. Mecole Hardman, he had a nice little kind of flat route at some point later in the second half. And he ended up with 2 catches for 12 yards off of 3 targets. Travis Kelce, just 2 catches for 8 yards, 4 targets on his day. Also, shout out Peyton Hendershot. Hendershot had a really nice catch, 1 target, 1 catch, 11 yards. Heavily contested play, and I was very impressed by Hendershot on that reception he had. I want to say that was either early in the third, late in the second, somewhere around there. I got to go back and rewatch the game. Just kind of get a feel of like the game flow. I guess I'll see it on film, but not a terrible loss. Although the defense, I do feel like needs to tighten up a little bit after this one. This is the first time that we saw anybody score more than, I can't remember the numbers, 27 or 28, but the first time anyone scored more on the Chiefs defense since the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl a couple of years back. So this defense, really a lot came to an end today. The defense's insane run of really holding offenses to under 28. We'll say 28 here on the Papa Schro Knows podcast. But also, of course, the 9-0 start, 16 wins in a row, dating back to the last loss being Christmas Day of last year. I think the Chiefs are in a good spot, though. I don't think this is too discouraging, and more than likely we didn't see, what everything the Chiefs have to offer. They don't want to put that on film against Buffalo, to go into the playoffs, and Buffalo have, all the best plays. We see it time and time again, and we've talked about it a few times now on this podcast. I mean, me and EDJ talked about it last week, just how to a point that, the regular season for the Chiefs has become almost a prolonged preseason for the postseason. And they just find ways to win. I think they'll continue to find ways to win. Although, I'm not going to lie, I'm glad that Buffalo ended the undefeated streak and it's not going to be at Carolina. Because the memes were hilarious from what I was seeing of just, who can stop the Chiefs. And, a lot of people were pointing to the Panthers next week at Carolina. And, one of those kind of games that we see all the time of some team that has nothing to lose go into a game where, you got an undefeated team like that and they come in and knock them off their pedestal there. So we won't see that next week, hopefully. Hopefully we're not going to see the Chiefs revert to old of kind of what we saw last year. I think that this is a good loss for the Chiefs. I think that it'll be a momentum builder to start really gearing up towards the playoffs because, you're looking at it now. There's only 7 games left in the season. We are more than halfway through now. And, midway through November, it's going to be a fun 7-week stretch, I think, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm not too down on it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this Week 11 loss to the Bills. It feels like kind of just what it is, right? The Bills win in the regular season, the Chiefs win in the postseason. So until the Bills can defeat the Chiefs in January, I feel like I'm not too worried about the Bills team just yet. Although Josh Allen might have stated his claim with Lamar Jackson's bad performance of maybe kind of getting ahead of him in the MVP race. Maybe. We can talk about it. So, but for the Chiefs, not too worried at this point. We'll see how at Carolina goes. I think it'll be a good game to try to get some stuff into rhythm next week at Carolina. Get Worthy involved. Get Worthy involved as much as you can and let him get those reps. 5 targets in Sunday's game I think is great, but continue to just try to work him and weave him into the offense as much as you can, especially once you get Hollywood Brown back, possibly Rashee Rice if you get him back and you get Worthy kind of clicking. I think the Chiefs offense could be a very deadly one. Obviously the tackle situation is still somewhat of a mess, but it looks like that's what we got for 2024. So got to try to keep that in a positive headspace towards the tackle positions. There was a big holding call that hurt the Chiefs at one point by Jawan Taylor there at the end of the game on, I can't remember, it was like a 4th and 3 that they converted on and then ended up being a 4th and 13. So just tough play from the tackles. Worthy also had 1 carry for 7 yards. So even getting them involved like that. McCole Hardman, another one for 9 yards. Carson Steele had a great 2-yard run for a first down. All in all, this is the same Chiefs team I think that we've seen. And they just couldn't get it to click enough because they were right there at the end of the game. And if Josh Allen doesn't break that run on 4th down, if the Chiefs stop him, if the Chiefs defense does stop him right there, which, I don't think that's what you're going to see every time on that play. On a 4th and short where Josh Allen is able to pull off a insane run on the Chiefs defense. I just don't think that. I feel like they kind of looked flat. A little bit tackling. They looked a little flat. And I don't know why or why that was, but just one of those things, It's a November loss. It's all right. And the Chiefs, I think, are still in prime position to take the number 1 seed. They've got a pretty, soft schedule really towards the end of the season. So, all right, so next up we're going to get into UFC 309 over the weekend. And for that, I have Ray here to join me on the pod this week.
What's good, bro?
Just another week. Kind of a rough weekend a little bit.
Yeah. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Tyson. Mainly the Tyson thing is the one that I thought was just rough.
Might be the saddest, for sure.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we'll get into UFC 309, and we'll start on kind of where Ray joined in when we were watching the other night on Bo Nickel and Paul Craig.
Yeah. Because I was just getting off work, walked in, perfect timing. I had much higher hopes for Bo Nickel, but he's kind of shown himself to be more of just a traditional wrestler. Jab, overhand, And then how many takedown attempts did he have? Maybe one in the whole fight?
Yeah, I think it was just one, I want to say. Pulling up the stats right now on the screen.
Because, his striking left a lot to
no,
beat his
no takedowns. I don't know. It doesn't say on here if he shot for one or not.
Oh, okay. It doesn't show attempts.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, that's kind of his bread and butter. He can usually out-grapple everybody. But, Paul Craig's kind of that dude when it comes to grappling.
That's a fact.
And he didn't even test it, though. That was the thing I found so interesting.
I kind of agree with you. 54 to 47 on the significant strikes for the entire fight. It says total strikes, too, so I don't know if the stats are exactly
Got you.
accurate here, what I'm looking at. But, I don't know. I thought it was weird because it was like Paul Craig had a few moments where it seemed like he was really trying to, up the pace of the fight a little bit.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, it felt like he didn't do anything with the fight.
Yeah, like they both were kind of waiting for each other to engage to counter each other, which led to inactivity.
Yeah, and neither one of them wanted to commit, actually.
No. And
that was the most frustrating part, I think, about this fight. All in all, I think the right decision was made. Bo Nickel.
Yeah, as inactive as he was, he still kind of was putting more pressure on Craig. So
yeah,
it counts for something, doesn't it?
No, I agree. And some of those left hands he landed, he really did crack him with.
Yeah, what was that? I think it was in the second where he landed that bigger shot.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the third he landed a pretty good one too. I want to say it was the third was the one that busted Craig open a little bit.
Yeah, and then after that, Craig kind of started trying to goad him on.
Yeah.
After getting cracked like that, it was just kind of strange behavior, but
yeah. All in all, another big win for Bo Nickel. He continues his move up the middleweight ranks. How long do you think until Bo Nickel's ready to contend for a title?
Because you don't want to knock him off just yet.
Right.
You don't want to give him somebody like Hamzat or nothing like that.
Definitely not.
But he's kind of stuck in his weird middle ground as well.
I agree.
So,
I think Paul Craig was ranked 14.
Was he? Oh, okay, so he's finally cracked. He's knocking on the door to,
Yes.
The division's elite. So, I'd probably say give him somebody in the top 15, but less than top 8.
Okay. No, I feel that.
And kind of see where he's at, and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, I think Bo Nickel. It'll be interesting to see. I'll pull up the rankings really quick and we can kind of see where everybody's at in the middleweight division. Let's see. Okay, so obviously Dreykus number 1, the champion. Sean Strickland number 1. Adesanya 2. Chimaev 3. Whitaker 4. Imavov 5. Barrio. That would be an interesting fight. I actually like Barrio. Number 6. Vettori 7. Another possible interesting contender for him to face. Cannonier at 8. Brandon Allen at 9. Dolidze at 10, who's coming off of a win. Paulo Costa at 11. Hermanson at 12. Anthony Hernandez 13. Shara Magomedov at 14. And Michelle Pereira at 15. So I guess Paul Craig wasn't ranked.
He wasn't. Okay. Jack Herman, that might be an interesting matchup there.
I kind of agree with you.
I feel like that's a good litmus test.
Yeah, I agree with you. Jack Hermanson or Michelle Pereira, I think, would also be somewhat of an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Just because someone to kind of test him in a different way, in the striking.
His comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that would be an interesting fight. So, something for Bo Nickel to break into the top 15 in. So next up, we had Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. This was the co-main event of the evening. It was a 5-round fight. Went the distance. And another interesting Michael Chandler fight.
I don't know how he keeps doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Keep looking so interesting in losses. At this point, it's become a talent.
I think that's a fact, and especially in this last fight where it's kind of made the rally at the end.
Yeah.
Where I feel like it's almost more of, usually we see the opposite, where Michael Chandler starts off strong, kind of falls off throughout the fight, and then in this fight, it's like he came on at the end and really looked pretty good there towards the end of the fight, but he just could not beat Oliveira, like the grappling.
Yeah, no, he could not that, and he couldn't finish him off. And even with all those strikes to the side / like back of the head, because I really thought he was gonna get called for a foul on that.
I thought he was too for a second.
And ref didn't see fit, so
5 total takedowns for Charlie Oliveira.
No stuff.
Yeah,
kind of put it on, bro.
Chandler did outland strike-wise.
Really?
150 of 181 versus 117 of 153 for Oliveira.
Gotcha.
But I think that really just kind of goes back into Oliveira was trying to submit him. There's quite a few times where Oliveira wasn't doing too much and was trying to submit Michael Chandler when he had his back and other moments like that. I don't know. Interesting fight. What's weird about this weekend between UFC 309 and, the whole Jake Paul and Mike Tyson is I feel like almost every fight went exactly how I thought it'd go. Although I did have Chandler just because I kind of wanted to see Chandler get back in the win column after the whole Conor McGregor fiasco, but sure. I had it going to a decision was my thought on that, and the main event was about what I thought it'd be, and then Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, was exactly what I thought it'd be, honestly.
Yeah, I will say I didn't expect as violent of a finish with Jon Jones.
I'll agree with you. That's the one thing that I did not see happening. I thought they'd probably go to a decision.
I figured RNC. Second, third round. That was my prediction. That in my head, because I was just like, yeah, he's gonna, wear Stipe down, a couple leg kicks, to get, score a takedown, work the back, submit him, night over with.
Yeah, and I think Jon Jones. See, I would have thought he would TKO him over submit him, and I guess that's just because I put, a decent amount of credit towards Stipe's grappling game.
Yeah.
Which I guess I don't know. Maybe I give him a little too much credit, but. Has he ever been submitted?
And to my knowledge, no. But I thought Jones kind of would be the first to do it.
That's fair. I think that's fair. He almost got him out of there in the first round.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go ahead and just talk about that one now.
Kind of might as well.
Yeah, right. Seamless transition. Jon Jones, 104 of 128, 81% on his strikes versus Stipe, 42 of 94, 45%. Jon Jones 1 of 1 on takedown, and he absolutely destroyed Stipe while he had him on the ground. That was rough in the first round.
He was wrecking that man. I will say I did expect Stipe to be able to handle that a little bit better, but on that one takedown, Jon went effortless.
That's a fact. And he was in the perfect spot. The way he set up that combo to bring his legs behind Stipe, where just with his upper body, he could just throw him straight down. It was perfect. It was picture perfect. And I thought the footwork was very sloppy of Stipe's. And that was one moment that really showed it, because you could not allow a guy to get that front foot on the other side of your front foot, because that's all day, in a situation like that.
Yeah. And excuse me, you're right. It just attributes to the whole ring rust, because he hadn't fought in damn near 1,100 days, or 1,042, something like that.
Been a long time since we saw Stipe Miocic in the cage.
Yeah, that was that man's first time fighting in a Venom fight kit. That's a problem.
That was the most insane stat going into the weekend that I saw. That blew my mind. I was just like, what? This man hasn't fought in a Venom fight kit?
What? That, and then the stark age difference is what kept throwing me off as well.
Yeah. That and how much bigger Jon Jones looked than Stipe kind of threw me off.
It didn't look that drastic to me.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm gonna be real with you. I was running off a little, not a whole lot of sleep, so I might be a little delirious.
That's fair.
Just keeping it real with you.
I just thought that he made Stipe look like a light heavyweight. I didn't think Stipe looked like a heavyweight against Jon Jones, and Jon Jones looks like. Jon Jones is 6'4", anyways.
Yeah.
It's just like we've always seen Jon Jones skin and bones, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like just a
Briscoe
different
and all
look.
that, yeah.
Chicken legs.
Yeah.
It looks like he actually hits leg day now.
Yeah, hitting leg day. He kind of had like a dad gut.
No, he really did.
Yeah, I was just like, no, you know, you expecting?
Hey, man, you ain't got to cut weight.
You're right.
Bro, as long as that cardio's all right.
Yeah,
like,
you're not wrong.
I'm gonna eat what I want.
I'm gonna say every day is cheat day.
No, that's a fact. I forgot what else I was gonna say to that effect. But what do you think? What do you think's next? Well, what I was gonna say, I guess, to what I said a minute ago was how Dana said after the fight with Alex Pereira that Jon Jones is just too big, that he doesn't want to see them two fight.
Yeah, and to me, he's on the money. Because, I mean, that's kind of how he ended up running through, you know, the light heavyweight division before. A lot of them dudes were kind of bloated light heavyweights. You know what I mean? Like bloated middleweights, excuse me, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they just cut a little extra, they could have been making middleweight. Rashad, he ended up going to middleweight. Machida went to middleweight. What I feel like there's like one more guy.
Shogun probably could have made that cut.
For sure. Hendo, he's fought at middleweight before. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just guys that like he was fighting or about to fight. Chael, Vitor, so on and so forth. But the point stands, he's out here fighting these guys that, you know, he's had a significant size advantage, and I get it. You can't help that. That's, you know, like God given or whatever. But I would like to keep it at a even playing field.
I kind of feel that, and like from the promoter angle, I totally get him not wanting them two to fight.
Oh yeah, Pereira's a cash cow right now.
Yeah, and if Jon Jones ends up beating him, because it does kind of feel like nobody can beat Jon Jones.
As much as we've hoped, wished, prayed for over the years, expected, it just hasn't happened. We've seen him like dance on the razor's edge and still somehow win.
Yeah. No, yeah, and also Stipe just, after seeing it visually, I just thought, man, dude, there was no reason that we needed this fight. It kind of proved all the fans right, I feel like, to a point, because
it was a foregone conclusion.
Nobody really wanted to see this fight. No. I mean, I personally got it hyped enough just because Jon Jones versus the greatest heavyweight of all time. Like, it's a legacy fight. Like, you I don't know, I'm a hardcore MMA fan. You're going to get me out of my, you know, seat or whatever kind of analogy you want to use there for this one. So, but watching it in real time, it was just like Stipe was so far in over his head.
Yeah. And the worst part is like, I kind of feel like Stipe halfway announced like retirement and they just brushed over it.
I kind of felt like that too. I thought it was kind of weird because he legitimately announced his retirement and just bounced. Like he didn't even
leave the gloves in the ring, did he?
No.
That's why I was looking. That's why I said halfway, because I was like, he didn't even go through with the formalities for it. But you know, him and Dana have never had like, you know, the best relationship either.
That's true. That's true.
You know, that might have been a middle finger towards him and the company. Because, I mean, like, you know, they never really wanted him to be champ. He was just undeniable.
Yeah. I mean, he was the best guy. And the fact that he ended up being essentially the greatest heavyweight of all time is kind of crazy, really.
And, I don't know. He deserved better, is what I'll say, specifically.
I agree with you. Steve deserved better.
On top of that, thank God that Jon Jones was as dominant as he was in this fight, because if he had a subpar performance, loss, anything like that, the amount of damage done to his legacy would have been just irreparable.
I agree.
Because the fact that like that's kind of the point of fighting a challenger, you are gambling with your legacy. Not many other ways we can put that. Cut it, slice it, dry it. That's the game.
Yeah, the narrative that Tommy Aspinall needs to fight somebody else after defending the interim belt to get a title shot against Jon Jones is insanity.
It's asinine.
The exact word that was all in my head.
Because like that was literally the dumbest thing he had said, and I'm just like, what is going through your head to make you say something as ridiculous as that?
Insane. I don't know.
And styles make fights. Can you deal with that?
Yeah.
I know you don't want to deal with it. Most of the dudes that he's fighting don't want to deal with it.
Well, and Saturday night also kind of made me think about it because watching Jon Jones fight Stipe, the only time Stipe had success really was when he really hunted Jon Jones down and started throwing shots. What is the best thing that Tommy Aspinall is at? That's running right at you and throwing straights and getting you up out of there. And I think that stylistically, he matches up well with Jon Jones.
Yeah,
after Saturday night.
Yeah, quick inside puncher. Yeah, he does match up well, and he's a little bit more. Well, I said a little bit. Hell, that was a tall tale. He's a lot younger than Stipe, so he's going to be a little bit fresher, a little bit more spry, if you will. I don't think he's going to be able to just toss around Tom Aspinall. Plus, Tom Aspinall is about the same height.
Might be like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. I think.
So he's close to the same height.
Tom Aspinall is not a small dude.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's a huge man.
Yeah. And moves fast.
Yeah. Like a damn ballerina.
He reminds me of watching Brock Lesnar, in a different way, just because of how quick Lesnar moved for how big he was.
Yeah.
Just always
real light on his feet.
Weird.
Because you just would think a dude of that size should not be able to move this easily. A 256-pound man should not be able to do that.
Shouldn't be able to clear the octagon in a couple of seconds.
Yeah. You're cheating.
That Heath Herring highlight.
Hey, that was funny. As soon as you said Brock Lesnar, that's what came to mind. I said, yep.
That dude looking up on the other side of the cage is that dude just
barreling at him.
Bro. Insanity.
Yeah. No, and I think that's the fight to make. So I hate to say it, UFC might have to bend over a bit and give that man what he was asking for, FU money, and make that happen and sell it as best as you can.
I think it's fair at this point.
I would say he's earned it.
Yeah, give Jon Jones his money, give Jon Jones the title, or give Tommy Aspinall his title shot, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, 12 years of in-cage excellence, so. Not an easy feat.
No,
not an easy feat.
Insanity.
You know what I mean? We can literally count on one hand how many times we've seen Jon Jones look mortal in the cage. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a fact. I mean.
Outside the cage, whole nother story. But in there, that man's domain.
Yeah. No, that's a fact. Yeah, I guess that pretty much clears up. You talk about Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Is there anything to talk about there?
If I say anything about that, bro, trust me, you gonna have the CIA on your ass. You are harboring a communist sympathizer.
All right, so we're gonna move on to that after Ray leaves. And we'll talk about that on the podcast here in just a little bit.
You're gonna be calling me Comrade Marchbanks.
Comrade Marchbanks. All right. Well, Comrade Marchbanks, sir. Comrade Marchbanks, I appreciate you for joining the podcast this week and talking about these UFC fights.
I'm sorry. I just got off work again.
No, this is gold. This is gold. Until next time.
Until next time, y'all.
So listen, to round this podcast out, I'm not going to talk too much about this Jake Paul, Mike Tyson boxing match Friday night. It was an event. If you watched it live, it was an event, to say the least. It was interesting. There was some good fights on the card. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, really good boxing match. I really thought something needed to be done about the headbutts, especially after watching some of the highlights and back in slow-mo, how Katie Taylor leads with her head. I just thought that, they tried to put it just to the southpaw versus orthodox, and, that's fair, but continuing the fight and that horrible cut that ended up happening on the kind of eyebrow, right underneath the eyebrow of Amanda Serrano, that was tough. It was a tough cut. I thought a couple times they're probably going to stop the fight. They did not. They went the distance. And I still think Amanda Serrano should have won the fight. I thought that she bested Katie Taylor personally for most of it. I mean, I'd have to rewatch it to go back and go round by round. But very good boxing match. They went the distance. And I will say Mike Tyson looked good in the beginning. I mean, that first hook he came out and threw, I think it was a right hook. The speed on it kind of blew my mind. You talk about a 58-year-old man that got in there and threw one big right hook that it didn't land, but the speed he had on it, I think it did kind of shake Jake Paul for a minute early in the fight. He stayed away from Tyson, very smart. And, I mean, exactly how I figured this boxing match would go is exactly how it went. Ended up being 2-minute rounds, eight rounds. But, I mean, kind of what we expected, right? I mean, you got a 58-year-old man versus a 27-year-old. And the fact that Tyson went the distance with him, I mean, if Jake Paul pressed, he probably could have finished him at some point. Who knows? And, I mean, who knows what host of supplements, if you will, Jake Paul is on. And I would like to see him get in there against a true boxer. I don't know if Canelo's the guy, but, if he wants to do some charitable work for all of us fight fans, maybe he can get in there and show Jake Paul what some real boxing is like. I don't know. We'll see. But without further ado, that will bring this episode of the Papa Schro Knows podcast to an end. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you smash that like button. Give a 5-star rating wherever you're listening, if it's Spotify or Apple Podcast or Amazon Music. I guess the podcast is on over there as well. Wherever you get your podcast. Over on YouTube, smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button too. We're still on the road to 300 subscribers. Hit the follow button, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And hit that bell to stay notified whenever I post over here on YouTube. Until next time, Chiefs finally go down 9-1. We'll see them at Carolina next week. And I think the UFC has an event next weekend as well. Or this upcoming weekend. I think that's the Figueiredo fight. Piotr Jan, I think, is the fight at 135 that they've got. So that'll be an interesting matchup to see. And then UFC 310 after that. But until next time, I'll see you guys next week. Go Chiefs.